Very, very difficult for the families, even if any of them are watching
for a retrial.
You know, every time this case is discussed, and it has been discussed a lot at the time and since, you know, very difficult for them. However, surely they still want the truth, even if it wasn't.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think, you know, they raised that very early in the documentary. And, of course, you know, the families have been through a horrific incident which has, you know, impaired their lives in many ways. And I can understand that it's really difficult for them for this process to be going on and on. But I imagine that what they want is the truth. They want the truth about what happened to their babies. And if there's any suggestion that we haven't got the full picture, then I think it's very important to keep investigating. And having watched this documentary and the one before that they did on Panorama, I have to say this was a brilliant documentary. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you really should catch it, because... Did it make you question? Yeah, I mean, the initial Panorama one made me question, because they talked a lot about the sort of circumstantial nature of the evidence, which they do again here, and they have some really incredible and very, very respectable witnesses questioning what colleagues in the medical profession have come up with. And it feels like there was definitely a lot of personal opinion allowed to influence what happened in the courtroom. But the other stuff that they have in there as well, aside from the scientific information, is that they have interviews with her best friend and with the woman who is the head of the nurses and was in charge of Lucy Letby. Sorry, my earpiece just fell out. And you know, listening to them, you know, her best friend, they were friends all the way through school. And she talked about how Lucy had wanted to be a nurse from the age of about 11, and it was her dream, and she wanted to look after babies. And her friend was so full of love for the friendship that they'd had, and the fact that she'd been able to go to her wedding when she was on bail and things. And, you know, it was really compelling to hear her version of who this woman was, because I only know her as someone vilified in every paper across the land, a child murderer, Myra Hindley, etc.
Labeled,
and even more compelling, I think, was the head of the nurses, who just at the end of the documentary says, honestly, I just don't think she did it. Well, and when you add that to the circumstantial evidence, you think at the very least there should be a retrial.
Well, I think there are too many. When we had when Panorama did their documentary, we had the producer and director, I think, or two, and one said, "No, I think absolutely she did do it," and he said, "I absolutely think she didn't." So two people that were very closely involved followed the trial, followed everything. And for me, I don't know all the details. There are too many professional people, intelligent professional people, now saying, I'm not sure about this. There are things coming to light. Again, we have to be careful what we say, because it will be ongoing if there is a retrial. There are too many people now questioning it for me to think maybe there's new evidence now that might prove otherwise, and therefore surely she deserves a retrial.
Sure. I think one of the things that also comes up in this is that there were other people, there was mismanagement at the hospital. We've seen all kinds of things happen since then in terms of people being arrested and so on. And I think that there's so much evidence pointing to the fact that this was not just a single woman's acts, if it was at all.
We asked you at home, should Lucy Letby be granted a retrial? And it's 50-50. Yes, 50%, no, 50%. Thank you very much for taking part in that.